Hello everyone, today on Scottish Memories I am chatting to Mark Martin. So how are you all? Hope you are all happy and healthy and safe out there, wherever you are. Just before we get started, as always, if you haven't, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you are listening out there on podcast, please remember leave us a review, if you don't mind, a little 5-star review. You know, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. It would be lovely. Thank you very much. But today, I'm really excited. Today, I am interviewing one of Edinburgh's well-known presenters and radio DJs. Please welcome Mark Martin. Mark, hello. How are you?
How are you, man? Good to see you.
It's nice to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. It genuinely means the world. Thank you.
I love your series, I've got to say. I've watched it. It's like a who's who of Scotland. It's like who's who, and then you get to me and you go, who? Oh, him, I remember him.
No, honestly, it's a pleasure to have you on, because I've followed you for ages, and I was about to tell you this just before we started recording. You and me have met before because we jumped off a bridge together.
Ah, in Perth.
Yes.
For Cash for Kids.
For Cash for Kids.
Was that my forward bungee jump or my backward bungee jump?
Forward.
Okay, so I did it twice within the year, and then they remembered me when we went back to the bungee place just above Loch. What was the name of the loch again?
Oh, okay, it's near Killicranky, isn't it?
It's in Perthshire. So I did it once, forward for Cash for Kids. Wore my brown pants that day. Second time, did it. They said, "Oh, you can do it backwards." And as I went back like that, I thought the guy was going to be the last person I ever saw. And there's a photo of me which exists on the internet, and I look like I am bricking it because I was bricking it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't. I like that when we did it that day, and I don't know if you remember. Well, you probably don't, but my wife was there, and we had 2 puppies with us at the time. She'd brought both the dogs because they were young, didn't want to leave them in the house for that amount of time because they were both puppies. So she came with us, and she was dragging these puppies along. And I remember doing the jump, and I've got the coolest picture ever because you know they took pictures of us as they jump. I'm like, this is the coolest picture of me ever. You can't see my face. There's no proof it's actually me. But I can remember being on the edge, just about to jump and go, what am I doing? I'm about to jump off a bridge. I have no memory really of the free falling. And then I remember getting grabbed by the bungee. That's all I remember.
When it tweaks your leg, you're like, oh my God, oh yeah, I'm bungee jumping.
Yeah.
You kind of lose yourself for a moment, don't you? When you kind of throw yourself off the bridge and you know you're doing it for charity and you're raising it for, but it's a great experience as well.
Yeah.
Just to do that.
Yeah.
And one you can tick off your bucket list.
Yeah. A few years later, we went back because my wife did it for the SSPCA as well. But she did the bungee swing.
Oh,
which is underneath as well because she didn't want to jump off. And I've got it on video. It's hysterical because her mum and dad came along and it was just, she invented swear words doing this. And she came swinging down. So she came towards us because they swung towards us at the bank. Yeah. Came towards us, one big swear word, and then swung back. And then as she swung out the close to us again, all you heard was, "Sorry, Mum," because she just swore the whole way down. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Get that into Fail Army or You've Been Framed, definitely.
I know.
50 quid sat for you right there.
I know. I'm not sure. I keep doubting how much of this You've Been Framed is sent in now. I think they just go into the YouTube and just take it. So before we get properly started, how are you? Are you healthy and well and everything like that?
Yeah, doing all right. I'm a stone heavier than I was this time last year, thanks to lockdown.
Tell me about it.
I'm home like everyone else, but safety first for everything that's going on. I'm very lucky in the street that I live in because we all kind of look after each other. We all text each other. If someone's going shopping, can I get you this? Can I get you that?
Oh, that's brilliant.
And the other good thing is my daughter's about to turn 4. So I've managed to watch her grow up, which I would never have got that time any other time, because I'd be working like everyone else.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm totally with you because, again, we've got a 4-month-old. So when all this started, I got to spend the time with my wife through the last 6 months of her pregnancy. So essentially most of the pregnancy. And now have had the first 4.5, almost 5 months of Lillian's life with her, which you wouldn't get. You know what I mean? So it's silver lining to this rubbish time. It really is.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people struggling and, we've all been there. We've all had dark places in the last year. But, if we just keep a smile on, which is what we've got to try and do, it's tough for everybody. But, again, I'm very lucky in the respect that our street, we kind of look out for each other. We've got older people and younger ones as well. So it's good fun.
Yeah.
To kind of look out for each other. We've got to know each other as well. We've got a real sort of community spirit, which sounds, really old-fashioned, but it's true because we actually do.
It's nice.
Face to face as well.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I was
social distance, may I point out?
I was chatting to Gail Taylor Stevens a week ago, and she was talking about that and how the community spirit, which she used to have when she grew up, which I'm sure you were the same, it seemed to be a lot stronger when we were younger. I don't know if we were younger, so nostalgia is a great thing, but it does feel like it's pulled that back a little bit. You are a little bit more aware of everyone round about you.
Because when I was younger, I grew up just outside Edinburgh. I grew up in Bonnyrigg, which was a bus commute into town. And we used to have gala days, which I remember really well. Newton Grange was just a stone's throw away as well. So I had friends and sort of that I'm still friends with today who still reminisce about like going to the gala days. Remember you went on that ride, you'd had your candy floss and you were nearly sick, that kind of thing. But yeah, the old school sort of community spirit is definitely coming back. And that again, that's a silver lining of what's going on just now.
Yeah.
The world is rubbish at the moment, it is. But if you take the positives out of it, I've always been a sort of half, my glass is always half full kind of guy. So it's just a nice thing to have. People actually talking to each other face to face, but at a distance.
Yeah, no, it is. You're right. It is. It's absolutely. It is the small silver lining of what's going on. You kind of actually started to preempt my first thing there. So you're a Bonnyrigg lad.
I am a Bonnyrigg lad.
So
Bonnyrigg is a lovely little town. It gets the nickname Boomtown as well for some reasons which I won't go into. But certainly when I grew up there as a kid, I loved it. I had such a lucky bunch of friends that I'm still friends with just now. I'm 37 in March. And, I'm still pals with guys that I used to go to school with at Hawthorne Primary School. Then we went to Lastweed High School as well, where kind of my formative years, I just had the best time. I was into my drama, my English, which obviously led on to the career that I went on to do. I remember going into Edinburgh, like for the first time on the bus with my mates when I was about maybe 12, 13-ish, getting on the 31 bus. You're sitting there going, whoa, look at us, we're all grown up. Little did we know that the rest of our lives you become really grown up, but that was good fun. And we went to the Odeon in Newington to see a film, which was good fun. And that was my first sort of trip with the boys into town. It
was a big thing, wasn't it, growing up to get your...
Like, we're really cool, aren't we? Because we were on the bus. And then the girls were like, they got off at a different stop and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
But not that cool.
But it is a big thing when you're a kid getting to go into the centre of town for the first time, unsupervised.
Yeah.
It really was. Like I can remember us doing it, and we had to get two buses into the centre of town. And there's one bus stop that every now and again I drive past, which was sort of, it was the midpoint bus stop. It was where we had to change onto the second bus to get the centre of town. And so many memories come flooding back every time I'm past it. The biggest one being, I wonder if my name's still on the lamppost. Which I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not.
But watching this, by the way, because you're in trouble.
I was like 12. I'm sure they can't like do that to me, charge me anymore for a 12-year-old with a biro. I think I'm okay.
Yeah, see that lamppost.
Can't prove anything. I'm not telling you which lamppost it is. I'm fine.
That's true. It's true though. Like it's a big thing. Like it's a big responsibility put on your shoulders that you will be back by say 4 o'clock. And you go out at like 11 and you get the bus, it takes 45 minutes as it used to. I think it still does from Bonnyrigg into town. So you're going in and you're sitting going, I'm going to the cinema by myself. Have I got my money? Have I got enough for my paper? I had a paper round for Brian Miller's in Polton Hall. So I'm like going, have I got my paper money so I can buy like stuff from the shop and I can get my popcorn and that because I'm going to look really stupid if I haven't. Because these were the days like I was sort of, I'm talking mid-90s when I was sort of 12. That's times where you didn't really have a bank card. It was mostly cash that you would use.
Yeah.
So, you're sitting going, what if I drop this money down a drain or something? You've got all these things that you worry about at that age. And then before you know it, you're back home again at 4 o'clock eating your tea.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was like it was a stressful thing. Like worrying about, I better make sure I've still got my bus fare home.
Yeah.
Because there was always someone in your crowd who overspent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can remember.
You shouldn't have got that Mars bar.
No, but I can remember us all sort of going through our extra change and trying to get enough so that last person had money for the bus back. Because again, like you said, there was no mobile phones.
Yeah.
There was no nothing like that. So you couldn't phone home and say, "Oh, can you just come and get me?"
Well, that'd use 10 pence as well. You couldn't afford it.
I know.
You couldn't go to the phone box and put 10p in because you'd run out of your bus there.
I know. There was I think, I swear I remember once trying to reverse the charges. Remember, we used to phone the operator and say, "Can I reverse the charges?"
Yeah. And then you get them and then saying no, and you're like, "Oh, brilliant." The other trick you used to do with a phone box, not that I ever did this, of course, was that 141 and you could call someone and it would hang up after 1 second.
I didn't know that.
There you go. So in Cameron Crescent in Bonnyrigg, where I lived, well, Polton Hall in Bonnyrigg, where I lived, there was a phone box which is not there anymore, but it was 141, then dial the number, and if you wanted to prank call anybody in a Bart Simpson style, it would you'd literally hear the other person say hello, and it would just hang up, and you go hee hee hee, and then you go, I've just wasted that person's time.
Yeah, but why did something like that exist? Why did the phone company make that out?
I've no idea. Do you know what I saw on eBay the other day? Remember phone cards, where you used to buy phone cards and you slot them in and you use X amount of credit. For some reason that came up on my eBay feed. I'm a big fan of Gladiators, and it was one with Wolf from Gladiators on it. So I was like, how random is that? Why is that even appearing on my feed? But there you go. I didn't search it or anything. And I knew because it was only like a couple of quid, but I thought, what's the point? Because I can't use these things nowadays.
No, but I remember that. I remember when I moved down to college, in 97, I moved down to London to go to college, and my mum and dad got me a phone card, and they could top it up from home.
Yeah.
So that, this is to make sure you phone home, which I hardly ever did, but I had it. I had it. College. Yeah, no. We had the thing as well. We had a phone in the house. I don't know why they gave me a phone card.
Yeah,
but they did anyway. I'm going to go back to what you just said. Gladiators.
Yeah,
loved Gladiators. That was a big party growing up.
Yeah,
there was a period where I remember. I used to play rugby on a Saturday, and then me and my mates would go down to my house. My mum would chuck something together for us very nicely, and we'd sit, and there was a routine. It was, Gladiators and the New Adventures of Superman with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, and these were important things at the time.
That was on before Live and Kicking on a Saturday morning.
Yes,
Saturday morning.
Yeah,
and watch the Raccoons on Channel 4 before it.
Oh, I love the Raccoons.
Cyril Sneer.
Yes,
I mean, you could talk about this all day.
I know.
You've got to do kids TV. That's your next podcast series.
I know, but it's true. That was a big thing. Like in Gladiators, people forget it was huge.
Oh yeah, massive production. There's a great podcast out there called the Glad Pod, which I would encourage you to check out, even if you're just interested in what they're up to nowadays. Because the presenters catch up with like Hunter and Jet and super fans, and even John Sachs, the voiceover. His one's really interesting. The one thing I took from it is he was never ever live at Gladiators. So all his commentary was actually scripted, which totally ruined the illusion for me.
Yeah.
I thought he was there live. He's trying to get up the travelator. He can't do it. Oh no, he's fallen. And he's got past him and through the paper burst. And actually, that was all done in post-production. And I'm like, you've just ruined my childhood, John Sachs.
Yeah, it does a little bit, because you can imagine, can I do that again? It's like, no, well, that's not the same now then, is it?
There's nothing better than being in a live commentary position. Part of my career, I did some commentary for Hearts for the visually impaired, which was just fantastic, because you're describing to the people who have the headsets within the stadium what's going on. But I was encouraged to do it like a TV commentator. So I would get my inner Jonathan Pierce in me, and I'd start going mental. I'd be like, Jamie Walker's got the ball! And it's gone out for a goal kick. It was great to kind of use my voice in that way, but then people sat next to me, because when you're doing the commentary for the visually impaired, people are sat next to you, you're shouting and screaming into a microphone, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm trying to eat my pie and my bovril here.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
That's brilliant.
From Gladiators to commentators to football, all of a sudden. Sorry about that. I'm just.
I never stay on track, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. My head keeps going back to Gladiators, because I just keep going, Jet,
yeah,
Jet.
absolutely.
Although as I've grown up and I've looked back, Lightning as well. Actually, for some reason, I don't know why I never really registered when I was young, and now I look back and go, oh no, she's lovely as well. But Jet was definitely she was almost the Pink Ranger.
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing.
To give it a bit of balance, I always wanted to be Hunter. Hunter was always the ultimate gladiator for me.
He was kind of the funny one as well, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolf was obviously the panto baddie.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in his 40s when he done it, and he's about to turn 70, I think, now.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he's approaching 70, and he's still fitter than ever. You should honestly check it out. The Glad Pod's a fantastic listen. Great if you're driving it as well, because it's only about half an hour to 40 minutes per episode.
Right.
So you can kind of do it in a sort of relatively short drive. So
I think for a nostalgic kind of thing, I'm going to have to check it out.
You're going to have to do that as your next series. And I'll come on with, we'll do kids TV.
We'll just do kids TV.
Grant Scott, who obviously you've had on this, doing Fully Booked. When I started working with Grant Radio 4th, I was like, I used to watch you on the telly. And I was like, that's not a really good introduction, Mark, because he's now your colleague.
Yeah. I have to say, because
I was like, oh no. I was so naive.
When I did Grant, and I like to put clips of TV stuff in at the beginning, and I deliberately searched for Fully Booked stuff. I was like, I've got to get something of him doing it in there, because I was the same. Used to watch it all the time.
He was he not one of the first people to ever interview the Spice Girls when they first started out, and he had a bit of a riot with them. I
didn't know that.
On YouTube, they are an absolute riot. They're just all over him, and he's just sitting there like, what did I do? So Jenny, tell me about this. All right, don't answer it. And then just do what you're doing. It's a great watch.
Right. See, you're just giving me lots of. You're giving me lots of homework. I'm going to have to check this out. I'm going to check that. Fortunately, I'm recording. I can go back and remember all this. It's fine. Trying to get a little bit back on track. So growing up, obviously we're both experienced going to Edinburgh. What about holiday wise? Was it staycations or was it
staycations? Yeah, I mean. There was one time we went to Spain and I fell in a pool, aged about 4 or 5, and I had to learn to swim pretty quickly. So that was a big sort of family one that I remember as a kid. But it was good because I'd been going to swimming lessons. So I managed to get myself out of the pool, which was good. Mostly staycations. So the likes of Loch Ness, for example, is somewhere I remember going to. In fact, I went up to Loch Ness when we had that break between lockdowns recently. And you were allowed to go a bit travelling. So I took my little girl and Laura, my partner, up there, and we had a nice time. And she's absolutely into Urquhart Castle, and she loves Loch Ness now. She's got a pink Nessie from there as well. So she calls it Bessie, which is very cute.
Oh, that's cute.
She absolutely loves it. And we tell her that Nessie's sister lives on Arthur's Seat and stuff. So we've gone up to Arthur's Seat and we've looked in the pond there now. And she's like, can I see where Nessie's sister is? And she's at that stage where she's really susceptible because, with the lockdowns and what have you, you've got to keep their imaginations going as well because they're not a nursery. Like Lila's not a nursery at the moment. Yeah. So, you try and give her a little bit of something to hold on to. But yeah, Loch Ness as a kid. Like Perthshire as well. Perthshire's a nice area to go up to.
It really is. Perth's lovely. I'm going to own up and be awful here. I've never been to Loch Ness. I know. I should hand in my Scottish card because it is ridiculous. It's just I've got no excuse. I know. I've got no excuse whatsoever. No, you can wag your finger at me.
Hashtag waggly finger. Tony now.
No. And the thing is as well, it's not as if Loch Ness is small. You'd think I would have travelled past it at some point, but no, I've never been to Loch Ness. And I do feel bad about that.
Well, we stayed in Abbeymoor, which was good. And then obviously Loch Ness is about an hour up the road. So that drive is amazing as well up to Abbeymoor. It's just like it's like, we see shots of Canada with all the trees and just the road in the middle. That's what it's like. I've never been to Canada, but obviously I'm just going from like what I've seen in brochures and stuff and online. And then when you get up to Loch Ness, you sort of hit the Inverness, the city, and you see the Caledonian Stadium. And then you head away left and then up to Loch Ness, and it's just the most amazing drive. It's tricky at times. It's a bit windy, but once you get there, it's just a sight to behold. It really is. And Urquhart Castle, it is the tourist destination. It's the Edinburgh Castle of Loch Ness, but it is well worth going into. And the one thing I will say is, again, sort of firing my little girl's imagination, was they had a dungeon, and basically, obviously, had to hand sanitize everything he did. And the guy turned around to my daughter and said, listen, if you don't hand sanitize, that's where you go. You go into the dungeon. And he didn't do it in a nasty way. It was in a nice sort of kid-friendly way. She was like, okay. So she done it. And every time she walked past the dungeon, she was like, they've not hand sanitized. They're heading to the dungeon. So they were firing an imagination with it as well, which is great. You can get down to the shore of Loch Ness as well at Urquhart Castle. We've got a lovely picture there. In fact, if I had time, I'd show you it. But it's just amazing up there. And it was a wet, rainy day as well. And you're sitting going, I don't fancy this much. But actually, when you sort of hear the history, you read the history, you obviously keep your eye out for Nessie in the water.
Of course.
Well, again, firing the imagination of the kids. It's a fantastic place to go. There is, on the way back from Urquhart Castle, it was on the right-hand side, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's a little sort of towny bit, and on the right-hand side, it might be called the Loch Ness Cafe, something like that. But it's the best soup I've ever had in my life. We had Scotch soup on the way back, and it was incredible. I was like,
I love it when things like that happen.
Oh, amazing.
We had
stop either, but we did, and we just went in, and because we were cold and wet.
Yeah.
The wee one got a hot chocolate, and we got a cup of tea, and this Scotch broth soup. Oh, incredible!
We went to, and then obviously it's not Scotland, but it's something similar, and my wife always still laughs about it. We went to New York about 7-8 years ago. It was a bit of a life thing, tick it off the list. We'd never been.
Yeah.
We went, and my wife's massive on musical theatre, and I trained in musical theatre when I was at college as well. And there's a place there called Ellen's Stardust Diner. Mm-hmm. And it's all singing waiters and waitresses, and it's all Broadway stars or Broadway chorus members or anything like that. And when they're not in a gig, they get a job here. So when they're serving you, each of them will get up and take a turn at doing a song. It's an incredible place. So you've got these Broadway singers bringing you your food and singing as they do it. And my wife, Kirsten, she's got a brilliant video, because I had a moment with a cheeseburger. It was the best cheeseburger I have ever had in my life. It was just incredible. And my wife, she's got a video. There's a woman singing opera, singing an aria from Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance. Kirsten's filming her as she wanders about, because they walk. It's all booths, and they climb on the back of the booth, so they're walking around you and walking on you. And she's panning, filming her, and then you just see me, and I'm just with this burger going, oh, it's this woman singing opera. I'm just like, oh, this is amazing.
I love it.
But even
the best, though. It's the best. Kind of like my favourite show is Blood Brothers. And
Blood Brothers.
Going back to Edinburgh, it's the first show that I really paid attention to, because I did drama at school, and I remember that Joe Alves, who was a teacher at Last Week High School, took us to see Blood Brothers one night at the Festival Theatre. So again, we're all in the coach. We're going from the school. We must have been about probably second year. So I'd have been about 13, 14 when I went to see it. And I went to see Blood Brothers. And I fell in love with that show. And that really got me into theatre. Because growing up in Bonnyrigg, it's not really something that you would get taken to see. You go see the panto at the Kings like everyone else. But
of course,
like a real sort of musical show that isn't panto. And Blood Brothers was absolutely incredible, and that got me right into theatre. I mean, the one thing I wish I could do is I wish I could sing and act like I look at Grant Stott, for example. He's a massive inspiration of mine, and I know he's been on this before, but he's a big mate of mine. He's always been great with the advice, career-wise and what have you. But then I watch him in awe as well, going like, Grant, man, look at you. You're on stage at the King's Theatre in front of thousands of people twice a day for however many weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks, and you're performing to these people, and you are an absolute king on that stage.
I'm with you there. The panto, Edinburgh panto is, and Grant and Alan, and obviously the unfortunately late Andy. It's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. But the three of them there, and now Jordan joined the team as well, Jordan Young. There's something to behold. They really are something to behold. But yeah, I'm with you. Two things you've said there. One, Blood Brothers is amazing. Yeah. I love Blood Brothers. And when I got to interview Barbara Dixon, who was the original, that was a big thing. I was like, you are the original, from Blood Brothers, the original mum, which was incredible to chat to her about that, and working with Willie Russell on that. That was just amazing. But when I got to talk to Alan Stewart, and about being Panto Dame and things, because I did Panto Dame, and I love it. And I got to talk to him about
you didn't.
And afterwards, after we finished filming, you had to say it. After we finished filming, he stayed on and we chatted for a while. And he was saying, Panto Dane, would you do it again? I was like, absolutely, I would do it again. In a heartbeat. What they do there, Grant and the team, is just incredible. And you're right. It all praise to them because they're brilliant.
And the show gets better every year. Like, I've been going for many years. I remember going as a teenager, and then obviously when I started working with Grant on the radio, and then I got to meet the cast. I met Alan and Andy, obviously. I've got to tell you a thing about Andy. A few years ago, Alan Stewart did his big variety show, and I took my gran, who's going to be, or she is 80 now, but at the time she was about 77, something like that. She's like, I've always wanted to go backstage at the Kings. So I messaged Grant, who was part of the cast, and I said, can I bring my gran backstage? And he, no problem. So went backstage and we sat in Grant's dressing room, which is an incredible place to check out, by the way. He's got hibs everywhere. So that's the only thing that's wrong with it.
That was for you. That must be like a vampire walking into a church.
Yeah, get back. Yeah, we went backstage, and I was driving that night, and it was a night of just me and my gran, because I'm basically all she's got left. And when we went in, couldn't be more welcomed by both Alan and Andy, and obviously Grant as well. But Andy started ploughing my gran with Prosecco. Now, my gran has been on her own for about 15 years at the point where we went to see them. My gran got hammered. And Andy Gray's like, more Prosecco, Lorna, more Prosecco. I'm like, Gran, you've not been on a night out for X amount of years. You don't even drink this much when you go on your cruises. What are you doing? She got absolutely hammered by Andy Gray. Andy Gray was hardly drinking, but he kept ploughing her with Prosecco, so she really, really loved that. And obviously, when we lost Andy at the start of this year, so devastating. He was so hospitable to my gran that night, and he's been great with me over the years as well. If I've met the guys for a drink after the Panto and stuff. The Panto cast do so much for the community. Another thing I've got to say as well is for Cash for Kids, they do a performance every year for children with autism and disabilities, and they make the lighting a little less harsh. They kind of bring the sound down just so it's a nice level. They do the same show, and they do all the dirty jokes and stuff for these kids, but they do this extra show completely off their own back for charity, and it's incredible to watch. I was lucky enough to go and see it a few years ago when they had a dinosaur in it, and this dinosaur normally comes out and goes rah, but it came out really quite quiet compared to how it did in an actual show. And all these kids are looking up like, this is a dinosaur. This is absolutely amazing. So the Panto cast are fantastic. Obviously the crew as well. The crew is a massive production. The King's Panto is something that I do not hesitate to recommend to anybody who ever comes to Edinburgh. You've got if you can get a ticket and go.
Yeah, it's one of those things since I've started doing these, because Panto's it's not a Scottish thing, it's a very British thing, a pantomime. And a lot of people have been reaching out to me because, like I said, I've talked to Grant, Andy, Alan, Jordan, and you and me are talking about it again. And a lot of other guys I've interviewed, we've chatted about a panto as well. And the amount of Americans and things that have reached out and say, what is a panto? And I'm like, I don't know how to describe it to you.
It's a funny musical extravaganza.
Yeah. There's no other way to do it. But yeah, you're right. The shows that go on for kids with, say, autism and things like that, they're incredible things.
Yeah.
They are incredible things. I've been lucky enough to see one as well, and I like all the cast come on before, and and they say, hi, this is me, I'm going to be this person, and I love it. It's so good. It's so good. It's
and you go, and I'm the princess, and everybody's like, woo, a real princess. It's nice. It's brilliant, but again, they do that off their own back, and then they've got 2 shows later that day, and you're like, God, the stamina.
Yeah.
The amount of Nando's you've got to go through to keep this energy up. Of course, chicken, which is good for your protein. That's what I always say whenever I get a Nando's. I'm like, it's a healthy takeaway. Of course it is.
Yeah, of course it is. I'm going to go back, touch on something else you said there. The Cash for Kids. You did a lot for Cash for Kids. Like, even when you stopped on Fourth One, you continued with that, didn't you?
I was very lucky with Cash for Kids. It's an incredible charity. Big Hearts, I've got to mention Big Hearts, obviously, because I do a lot for them now, with me being at the football club. But Cash for Kids is the most incredible operation. Mission Christmas every year. I don't know how they do it. Obviously, they help Santa deliver the presents to people who are down the list a little bit. Just some of the stuff that they've done. I remember one guy, Rocco, and his wheelchair couldn't go on the beach. So they got a specially adapted wheelchair for him with these like super like monster truck type wheels. And he's been going to the beach now, this young lad, because Cash for Kids funded this special wheelchair that he needed. They do stuff like eye gazes for children who obviously aren't able to speak. So that gives them a voice. I mean, take your pick. I sat in a couple of board meetings a few years ago and I was just like, oh my God, some of the applications you get from people who can't afford to buy a jacket for someone, to right up to someone like Rocco who had to get his special wheelchair. The wide variety of people that they help locally within Edinburgh, Lothians, Fife and Falkirk is just unbelievable. I was lucky enough to run the charity football team for a bit as well. So Craig Lumsden gave up the Fourth One All-Stars, put me in charge. So we went for a full rebrand of the football team. Stephen at Football Nation on Lothian Road, he helped us out with that, gave us new strips. And then we went out on the road and we basically played gala days. We played against workplaces and all that kind of thing. And we went on a massive unbeaten run. We won 22 out of 26 games that I was in charge, which was great. I remember when Central Taxis, obviously of Edinburgh, beat us. Kyle Boggy, I then signed for a packet of crisps and a bottle of juice, basically, because he was the best player. I was like, right, come on, you come and play for us. The Fourth One All-Stars was full of a bunch of guys who were could-have-beens, but they all knew and understood what Cash for Kids was all about. Some of them had played to a decent level. Some had slipped through the net a little bit when it came to football. But then we had the guys like Keith Jack, of course, who was in Joseph. He's from Dalkeith, which is obviously just from, just up the road from Bonnyrigg, where I'm from. Keith Jack, so he was a bit of star quality. Callum Beattie, who of course is doing amazing now. Before he was famous, we had him first. Gareth Watt, the comedian, who went on to have a fantastic run at the Fringe when he did. There was a few guys that you'd recognise. And yes, I did put a few ringers in there, but we had money to make for children.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'll have to say though, all the stuff you've done for charity is incredible, mate. It's amazing the work that you've done. All the amount of time you've given to these various charities is amazing. So well done.
But if you're doing it in a fun way, that's what I like to do. So if someone comes to me with an idea for charity, I'll say like, let's do it in a fun way. So for example, I used my radio skills last year to do Big Hearts Radio for children who were disadvantaged. And what we did is we set up a room in the Gorgie Suite at Tynecastle, and we put up what was essentially a disco deck and a microphone, and we did a sort of a workshop on what would you do on your own radio show. And I tried to push them down the sort of chart show route, what's your 3 favourite songs, and we'd get them to introduce it, and then say, this is Eminem and Stan on Big Hearts Radio, or whatever, And these kids really came out of their shell because they were given something creative to do. And what they were doing is they were only just broadcasting to the room. We never recorded it or anything. But the confidence that it brought these kids was unbelievable. And we're hoping to bring it back, obviously, after the pandemic. But Charlotte and the guys at Big Hearts do an amazing job. They're out doing stuff in lockdown at the moment, delivering food parcels. For the kids that are off school that they help, they're giving them like activity packs and what have you. Craig Wilson and his team at Big Hearts are just as important as Emma and the team at Cash for Kids and all the other charities that are going. I mean, they're having a tough time right now raising funds, but they're still out there doing stuff in and around Edinburgh, and it's incredible to watch. So, like, if anybody asks me to do something for charity, I'm like, look, let's do it. Let's do something fun.
Yeah.
Even last year, a mate of mine works at Stenhouse Primary School. He says, could you just do a video for me of you running around your garden, like making an assault course, running around your garden and just keeping kids fit? So I sent him this video on Twitter, and it was viewed like a couple of thousand times by the mums and dads. And what I'd done was I literally, like, we've got goals out the back and a slide for Lila. I'm like running around the garden, into a hoop, out the hoop, round this way, up the slide, down the slide, like running around, just again, Gladiators. The assault course came into my head. And I sent, and Martin sent me a message saying, mate, there's loads of kids now shooting their own videos. I'm like, well, that's great. That's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm always up for anything. Genuinely, like, I'm no fussed. I've got to tell you one thing. We used to do the Cash for Kids challenge many years ago on the radio. And one Saturday night, I was sent out in the radio car with Graham Warman, who was my engineer. And I was basically, you could phone in and make me do anything. So that night, I ended up in a hot tub.
I mean, that's brave in itself, mate. That's brave in itself.
For 50 quid, I went into a hot tub. I put on this girl's bikini, which was a bit of a stretch to get on, I've got to say. She was tiny and I was slightly larger. sat in this hot tub, got my picture taken, got out the hot tub, went to someone's house in Fairmile Head, hoovered their house live on the radio, like, what the heck? For 50 quid in the pot, off we go, out to the Forth Road Bridge. Right, Mark, you've got to run across the Forth Road Bridge live. I was like, you're kidding me. The wind was howling. I was mic'd up. The radio car had to follow me, so it was going at like 5-10 miles an hour as I'm running across the Forth Road Bridge and back across to Edinburgh again. And I'm knackered, like totally unfit at the time. But again, it was all for charity, so you just chuck yourself into these things.
Yeah, actually, I have to say that sounds so appealing to me. That's sort of almost like Challenge Annika kind of thing. I would that properly. I'd love that sort of thing. That would totally up for anything like
Challenge Annika's theme, by the way. Brilliant.
And the cameraman who could only chase her bum. That's all he did.
He started pointing down Annika Rice. It's like, get your camera up, son. You wouldn't get away with that nowadays.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. I suppose we better get back to the sort of the main theme. So, like I was mentioning to you before, I'm really lucky that this is the channel's watched by people all over the world, either expats or people that are just wanting to come over, or people with a heritage, which I love, like in America and things. There's so many people who have got Scottish heritage and they hold on to it almost more than we do. Definitely more than us Lowlanders. Highlanders hold on to it a bit better than we do. But if someone's going to come over, what would be your top tips for them coming over to this side of the world?
Go to the King's Theatre, see the Panto.
If you get tickets.
In town. Grand Cru's my favourite bar in town, just for the vibe and everything that kind of goes on there. Go shopping on George Street. Go to Tynecastle and watch the Mighty Jam Tarts. Got to say that.
Do you know what? Well, especially since I was thinking this when you were talking about Hearts earlier, and obviously we've mentioned that I spoke to Grant. Grant had a big Hibs poster behind him on the wall when I was thinking, and not once did he say, "Go see Hibs."
Well, exactly. Why would you want to go see Hibs? No, I'm kidding. Lots of kids, Hibs friends. I'm joking. Bizarrely enough, I've actually worked for Hibs as well in the past. So between stadium announcers, I was the gap, the fill-in for a few games, a few seasons back. And there was actually one weekend where I did Hibs on the Saturday and Tynecastle on the Sunday. And the Evening News wanted to run a thing on this. And I was like, no, I quite like my car not being scratched, thanks. I do like having tyres on my car as well. So what happened was Scott Wilson, the legendary stadium announcer at Tynecastle, I'm his deputy whenever he's off, and he's hardly ever off. But he'd been in a car accident that weekend, minor, but it was enough to keep him off the game. So I did the game on the Saturday at Tynecastle, and I was also doing the fill-in job at Easter Road. They had a game on the Sunday. And then on Hibs.net, someone had put a thread saying, I recognise that voice from Easter Road. Who was that doing the stadium announcing today? They also put in brackets, he was quite good. And then they outed me as Mark Martin. And it was like, this Jambo, bleh! And then that was my end of my association with Hibs. That was it. They couldn't have me back. I mean, I'm good pals with Barry, who does it now. He's a great lad as well. Both, I've got to say, both stadiums, there's good memories in both stadiums from there. But not just that, like I remember doing a game at Easter Road as well, Scotland under 21s against Iceland. So this place where you do the stadium announcing is a place called Radio Hibs, and it's at the back of the away stand at Easter Road. And what had happened was Scotland 21s had gone 2-0 down. Now, I didn't have a monitor to watch the game, so I'm watching it through the window. And I literally went like this. Took a sip of my tea, and I had a big roar. Chris Maguire had scored for Scotland from the halfway line direct from kickoff. And I missed the goal completely. So there's a panic with me and Daniel, who was doing the music that night. We're going, who scored? We're looking up to the screen like, what would that's the one show. Wait, where's the football? Get your phone out, and I've obviously got to announce the goal like within seconds because there's a crowd in the stadium. I'm like, goal for Scotland! Silence, and then everybody. It was like a moment of silence, and I didn't know who'd scored. Couldn't see who'd celebrate the goal, and everybody just went, yes! Totally got away with it at Hibs that night. I missed the goal because I wasn't expecting Chris Maguire to score from the halfway line.
Yeah, that must do that. I have to say as well, in fairness, with Hearts and Hibs, because I'm a rugby lad, so it doesn't mean anything to me. I've never really had a thing either side, and I've been asked a lot. I get asked a lot on this, are you Hearts or Hibs? I'm like, none really. So, which is a safer way to be. But Barry's great as well. He's supposed to be coming on at some point as well, but he's much like yourself. It's difficult to get the time to come on, but I'm hoping to have him on at some point as well. I've got a great Hibs story for you though. Got a great Hibs story for you.
Go on.
My dad was quite a good footballer when he was young. Quite a good footballer when he was young. Now, my dad's in his 70s now, so we're going back a bit when he was sort of that sort of age, when he was semi-professional. And this was at the time where scouts would come to you. They would literally come to you. And scouts knocked on my grand's door and was like, hello, we're from Hibernian Football Club. We'd love your son to come and try out for us and play for us. And my gran went, no, he's just got a job in the bank. Shut the door on them, and that was it.
Got it.
He wasn't in at the time. He was out. Ironically, I think playing football, and that was it. They never came back, and that was his chance. Gone.
Ah, what a gutter.
Yeah,
that's horrible. And he'll probably still think what could have been.
Yeah, I'm sure he does a little bit. I'm sure over the years as well, the story's been elaborated a little bit. But because my dad has a tendency to do that. But the crux of it is they came and my gran went, no, he's just got a job in the bank, and shut the door in their face.
They go from like 100 grand a year salary to £1 million a year salary. That's elaborated over the years.
Well, then remember he was a clerk at the bank, so I doubt he was getting that. But I don't. Yeah. This was what he was born 45, so this could only been. It must have been in the early 60s, if anything.
Wow.
So I don't think the money wouldn't have been, what it is nowadays then either. Yeah. But yeah, that's my dad's heartbreaking Hibs story.
Yeah, you should ask him if he ever wonders what it'd be like to have pulled on the green and white at Hibs.
I should actually. I think we've sort of mentioned it every now and again. We've had a little thing, a chat about it every now and again. But I think he's kind of. I think he let it go a long time. I think he had to let it go a long time ago.
You should go and play at the Meadows, like every person does. You've got to. That's a rite of passage if you live in Edinburgh. You've got to play football or rugby on the Meadows. Because the reason I say that is, I love the Meadows. The Meadows is another place that's really close to my heart in Edinburgh. Really enjoy going for a walk around there.
Was the first game between Hearts and Hibs not in the Meadows?
Yeah, I think there has been games there, obviously, but I think Logie Green might have been.
Right.
Maybe. I'll need to check that out. Davey Allen, who is one of the guys in the Hearts Museum, who's always on tap for anything sort of Hearts related, he'll kill me if I've got that wrong. So
there's definitely something about one of the first, possibly the first derby game I want to say was in the Meadows. There's something like that. I only know that from all the history of Edinburgh that I tend to study for the channel and things, but there's definitely something about that there.
You need to go to the Hearts Museum when it reopens, which is underneath the Gorgie stand. You need to check that out. There's loads of history in there. That's a fantastic place to go to as well. Not just for Hearts fans, for football fans in general. It's a free facility to go and check out some history of Edinburgh. You can see old trophies and obviously all the sort of military connections to Hearts as well. That's all there. So that's another good place to check out if you come to Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that people. Actually, I had a message sent to me last night saying we'd love you to show us the stadiums of Edinburgh. So being able to go to Easter Road and Tynecastle and Murrayfield, people are like, yeah, we'd love to see that. So maybe at some point, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to organise something like that as well to do a video of these places.
That would be good. I mean, other places that I love to go, like Arthur Seat, for example, nothing better than getting a walk up there. It's exactly 5k if you want to go for a run as well. I've run that a few times. Not recently, as you can probably tell, but
no, I'm the same.
It's fantastic. That's a great place to go. Great for kids as well. Feed the ducks, all that sort of stuff. Jean Brodie's Steps in town, just off the Grass Market. If you want a great picture of Edinburgh Castle, you need to go there. Like literally every Instagram influencer ever has either been there or is planning to go there. Definitely somewhere. Plus,
and it's part of the Flodden Wall route as well. It's a perfect little bit. The fact that wall's still there, I love it.
Yeah.
Little bits like that. We're so lucky with our history in that sort of way that you can literally turn a corner and something's there that's so ridiculously old.
It's funny because we were watching a film just at Christmas past there called Last Christmas about a guy in London who always says, look up. That's something you've got to do in Edinburgh. Because everywhere you look, there's history. You go along George Street, you see statues coming out of walls and stuff. And you're going, I've never noticed that before because I'm too busy going into the shop.
Yeah.
You know, because all these old buildings, like the Dome used to be the bank, for example, and you go in and you're like, God, this is like the bank out of Saving Mr. Banks or Mary Poppins or whatever. Yeah. You know, the structure's still there, although it's a bar now and restaurant. Yeah. You know, it's just, we're so lucky. Again, kind of walk up to the castle, up to the Esplanade, and just have a look around and just look out sort of both sides and go, wow, there's a Pentland Hills and there's, you know, St. George's and what have you. And you look at us and you're like, there's Fife.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a stone's throw away. Like, if you're ever travelling to Fife, go to Pettincreef Park. Pettincreef Park in Dunfermline is an amazing walk. It's, you know, you come down the high street, get something at a Baines, get a wee pie or something, go for a stroll. Happy days.
It's funny. It's not till you actually start like conversations like you and me are having now that you realise how incredible the stuff is that we've got on our doorstep here. We're really lucky. We really are very lucky. I'm going to finish off because I don't want to take up your whole day. But
at the moment, you can do whatever you like. It's just nice to talk to someone.
It is nice. It is nice, isn't it? Just to chew the fat yes, that's exactly the right phrase. Chew the fat bit. But I like to finish with what I call difficult questions for us Scots.
Whoa.
So, shortbread or tablet?
Shortbread.
That was quite. You know, some people take a time with that. That was.
I've got a real sweet tooth and shortbread because it's got sugar all over it. I'm like, get it in my belly.
But then tablet is just sugar.
Shortbread's tastier.
Yeah, the shortbread is better with a cup of tea.
Like bourbon biscuits, so I love my biscuits, as you can probably tell.
I've got a real problem with biscuits. See, like a packet of chocolate digestives. If I didn't monitor myself, I could easily sit and eat a whole packet of chocolate digestives and think nothing of it.
See, when you do radio shows, that's all you live off is biscuits and tea. And coffee. Like, I'm black tea, black coffee, I'm a weirdo. Grant Stott, I remember, took the mickey at me once because I made him a cup of tea when I was on in the afternoon after him. And he was raging because in Fourth House, it's all stairs, so there's no lift and there's 4 levels. And the studios are in the basement. And what you do is you get the cup of tea from upstairs and you've got to walk down. And the amount of times you burn your hands with these plastic cups all dripping down you. So one time I made what I would call a 3/4 cup of tea. And you can ask Grant about this if you ever speak to him again. And I'd done his milk and I'd done his sugar and all that. And I'd done mine. I walked down and put the code in and into the studio. And he went, "What's wrong with the tea?" I went, "What do you mean?" He went, "Well, why have you given me a shot of tea?" I was like, what? He's like, "This is like a whiskey shot of tea." I'm like, "Grant, my hands are all burnt to whatever. So if you want this your tea, lick it off of this." He was raging with me. I was like, "Mate, you've got to traverse about blinking 30 stairs here, coming down steep stairs, put the code in, get into the studios, open the soundproof doors." I'm like, "You're moaning you get a mug of tea, go get your own one."
I know, doing something nice for him as well.
I'm trying, I'm a big mate, what's happening here? Yeah, he always takes a mickey at me whenever I used to make him a cup of tea.
And you used to watch him on TV as well when you were a kid. How rude is that?
I know, he's a diva. He's a secret diva. Get it out there.
Never meet your heroes.
Never meet your heroes either on Barony Street in and around sort of Fourth House with the bars we used to go to. Grant, do you remember when you interviewed the Spice Girls? That was so funny, eh? Oh, I've had too many years. Oh, do you remember when you worked with Zoe Ball? Like, you never heard this before, Grant.
Yeah.
It was better than Live and Kicking, wasn't it? Oh man, I tell you what, he's got a few stories on me, I'll tell you.
I bet he has.
Boogie and Arlene as well. Did he speak to? Well, I know they've been on this, but did he speak to them about me? Because they'll probably tell you about my ramblings when I'm out. Because I like to be very honest. When I'm like, "Oh, Arlene, I remember when you were fully booked. Remember, see it. Oh, that's a great thing. That was brilliant. Essentially a crossword, but it was. Oh, it's like, oh no. Well, honestly, the amount of times I've embarrassed myself in front of my heroes is frightening.
But I'm with you there.
So long, I've no idea.
I've done it. I've been there myself. I did when I used to because I did act and sing professionally for a while, and I did a tour early 2000s of a comedy murder mystery called Murder to Death, and the cast were from Are You Being Served, On the Buses, Doctor in the House. So it was all these, 70s stars that obviously would grow up with watching repeats on TV and things. So it's Trevor Bannister, Nicholas Lyndhurst, and all these sort of things. and biting my tongue, going, I used to watch you do this thing.
Yeah.
Anna Karen, who was on the buses, but was best friends with Barbara Windsor, and she's in the iconic scene with the bikini. She's there, and I'm like, I remember when you were in that scene.
I want to ask you about this, but unfortunately, I can't pay you for the interview. Just tell me what happened.
I know. It was
you know what I was watching the other day? Goodnight Sweetheart is currently being repeated on one of the channels.
I loved Goodnight Sweetheart.
I think that's better. I think that's a better role for him than Rodney was, controversially.
It was a great show. It was a great show.
Goodnight Sweetheart. What was the best for Nicholas Lyndhurst? Goodnight Sweetheart. It was fantastic. It was like
it was. But I've got a big love of time travel stuff. So I think because Back to the Future is one of the greatest films ever made.
3 greatest films ever made. I think.
3 greatest films. I count them all as one. But
I'd go 1, 3, then 2. 2's the one that's a bit chonky for me at times.
See, I would go with you. This is a big debate. I would go with you on that. I would go. I know. I would go with that. I used to think that way, but going back now and starting to what I think 3 is almost. It is brilliant, especially with the Western side. But when you watch it, you've kind of almost just made 1 again because it mirrors a lot.
Whoa.
But it's still brilliant. It's still brilliant. I am not taking away from it. But if you watched 1 and then you watched 3 and you made notes, you could hit the same points all the way along. Not a bad thing though. It's still a great film. It's still a great film.
I need to rewatch it and get back to you on that one.
Yeah, do.
2's the one that's a bit dodgy. In 2, there's I know it's a fantasy, it's sci-fi and what have you, but in 2 there's a few bits you're like, nah.
Yeah, 2 jumps about a bit much, and you could probably make the same argument with 2 because they go into 1, they go back into 1. So again, they hit the same points again. But at the same point, you could then say that's just genius writing.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant writing to foreshadow and then mirror. Like, as I hit my microphone about the place.
That's how passionate you got there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very passionate. If it hadn't been for Back to the Future, I genuinely would not be doing what I'm doing now.
This is another series you've got to do. Movies.
I know. I just need to get you time, and you and me can put a podcast together about children's TV and 80s movies.
Children's TV that was always a dream. I always wanted to be a children's TV presenter.
Yeah, I'd love to do stuff like that. A bit too old for a children's TV presenter now, I think.
Too follically challenged as well. I'm not marketable enough anymore.
I'm with you. Haggis, sneeps or tatties, or mince and tatties?
Haggis, sneeps and tatties all day long.
I love haggis. I do love mince and tatties, but yeah, I'm with you on that one. Haggis is my favourite.
Mince and tatties, you could almost make it into stovies.
Yeah. You just mash it together a bit and you're kind of there.
Because you used to get the old Ingliston Market down in East Lothian, which is another great place to escape as well. If you ever want to get out of town, head down to East Lothian, go down to North Berwick, take a walk along the beach, go to the Seabird Centre, go to the Museum of Flight, all that sort of stuff. When Ingliston used to have a Sunday market, that's one thing I remember when I went with my gran and my granddad. We used to get stovies all the time, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I used to love the Ingliston Market. It's a real shame that it's kind of not there anymore. And me and my wife went not long before it kind of stopped, and it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same.
The Market I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. East Fortune.
The Market as well.
Yeah, but yeah, East Fortune, just by the Museum of Flight. It was.
Sorry.
It was brilliant. And it's a shame that it's kind of just lost itself a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, bygone days that you say to people like, "Oh, you used to go to the market on Sunday," and they're now looking at you and go, "What?"
Yeah, but it was a great thing. The stuff that you used to get there were brilliant. It really was brilliant. Iron Brew or whiskey?
Oh, I love both. If I'm honest, I do like an Isla malt.
Right.
Whiskey.
See, these are the difficult questions. This is what I'm really here for. This is. Yeah. Yeah. These aren't designed to be easy.
You said Iron Brew or cola. Like there's no.
Yeah, but that's too easy a question. That's too easy a question. Square sausage or black pudding?
Black pudding. Black pudding all day long.
I've acquired a taste for black pudding in my more now. I didn't like it when I was young. I think my palate must have changed in my mouth. Now I really enjoy about black pudding. Black pudding on a roll, yeah.
The problem is if you get a square sausage one and it's not fully cooked through, you get the cold bit in the middle, which I used to watch a lot of non-league football when I was a kid. I used to watch Whitehill Welfare week in, week out. And I mean, some of the travels we went on with them up to like Fraserburgh one year before we played Celtic in the Scottish Cup. You know, they had a big rivalry with Spartans in Edinburgh as well. So I watched a lot of non-league as a kid, but I used to, all these delicacies that you're bringing up, I used to have a lot of. I used to drink a lot of iron brew instead of Bovril. I used to have a square sausage instead of a pie. You know, but that's the one thing that puts me off the square sausage is if you bite it, it's a wee bit cold in the middle and you're like, this is not cooked through.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Since you're more local as well, I can ask you this one. Derolos or Lucas?
Oh, see, Derolos. There's a Derolo. So where I stay now, I stay in New Craig Hall, and we've got both Lucas and Derolos just down the road. That's essentially Hearts and Hibs all over again. Exactly. I'd say Lucas edges it because the milkshakes are better.
Right. Yeah. I have to say I'm a Lucas person, but I do love a Derolo. I'm not. If someone said there's a Derolos ice cream, I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean?
Of course not. Mint chocolate all day. What's your flavour?
You know what? You're going to say I'm boring, but I've really grown into vanilla.
Oh, for goodness sake!
I know. When I was a kid, I'd try everything. I was like, get that in there. And now I'm like, I think it's because that's what my dad used to bring home to us. Yeah. A big tub of vanilla Lucas. That's what he used to bring home. So I think it must be a bit of nostalgia there. Which is why
when we were kids, obviously we had the ice cream van come around all the time. But we also, in Bonnyrigg, we had Alistair Ray, who had a shop down in Bonnyrigg. He would come up to Polton Hall with his van, and you get on the van. It was like an old converted library van that you get onto, and he'd just have like this counter full of sweets, and it was like a mobile shop. Oh my God, I used to go to town on it. Absolutely tremendous.
I forgot about the old sweetie vans that used to come round. I mean, that was a big thing as a kid.
Incredible. Like when you're out playing with your pals, maybe you're climbing a tree or playing football or whatever it is you're doing, and then you just hear the van come around, you're like, oh my God, right, I'm going to get a wham bar, when wham bars were only like 10 pence, you know? Or Highland Coffee, which broke a couple of teeth when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah, I was never much fan of them. And then we bought Curly Whirlies a little while ago, and I'm like, these are so much smaller than like they used to be huge. And now they're about the size of a Mars bar. I'm like, nah, that's not right. That's not right.
We're heading into Freddo territory here, aren't we? I can't believe a Freddo's 25p now. How old do we sound?
I tell you, we've went through kids' TV, 80s film, and now we're on sweets. I mean, this
is gold.
I know, it really is. Last but by no means least, Tunnock's tea cake or caramel wafer?
Oh, caramel wafer. Because a tea cake puts me off sometimes. The biscuit bit at the bottom sometimes, if it's a bit soggy.
Right. It used to be tea cakes were winning this outright, and I have to say, over the last little while, caramel wafers have taken over. They've really taken the edge.
I mean, Tunnock. So what an institution! It's like Bars, who do the iron brew as well. Like Bars cream soda. Absolute dream, heaven.
Yeah. I'd have to say, I have heard the Tunnock's factory that apparently you can do a tour is something to behold. Especially where they're making the tea cakes, just essentially a machine squirting out these tea cakes. Apparently, it's incredible.
What a dream that would be, eh? Like,
I know. Just like Homer Simpson lying underneath it, just like
Exactly. But there's a couple of great Scottish brands, you know, for anybody missing Scotland or thinking of coming to Scotland. You've got to get an iron brew. You've got to get a caramel wafer or a tea cake.
I'm going to fit in one last one that I haven't asked for a while. Chippy sauce, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think about that? What do you mean chippy sauce, yes or no?
Well, see, the reason is last week's interview was Karen Barkey from Scot Squad. She's a Glasgow lass, and we almost started a civil war.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Salt and vinegar. She was just like, no, you guys, there's something wrong with you guys having chippy sauce. And I was like, we properly had a bit of banter about it. I was like, we have to stop. We're going to start a civil war.
Well, I was doing stuff for Radio Clyde. So Radio Clyde is basically the hub of all the network programming for sort of the Bauer network. So your Fourth Ones, your TFMs, all the rest of it. So I'd occasionally do shows on the network from Clyde. So what I'd sometimes do is I sometimes stay in Glasgow and then go out with some of my colleagues. And there was one night we were in Cushion in Glasgow, and we're like, oh, really peckish, going for food. I nearly got into a fight with a guy behind the bar because he wouldn't give me chippy sauce. All they had was salt and vinegar. I'm like, but no, I need brown chippy sauce. And the guy's like, no, we don't have that. I'm like, well, have you got brown sauce? Yeah. I was like, slabber on the brown sauce and put loads of vinegar on it and kind of mush it together for me if you can. Oh no, mate, we didn't do that. I'm like, are you actually kidding me? I mean, don't get me wrong, I still got the chips. I still got it. And, it was 3 a.m, so I couldn't really. But I was shocked that I'm in like this chip shop just around the corner from this really trendy place in Glasgow where I can't afford to buy a drink, but I can go out and buy the chips. It was like, and the guy was like, no, we don't have chippy sauce. I'm like, are you joking? Best chippy sauce in Edinburgh though is Picante, Cafe Picante.
Picante Disco Chippy.
Disco Chippy. I got asked to DJ in there once.
Really?
I was like, yes, definitely.
For anyone watching that doesn't understand, Picante is a chip shop that at night time on the weekend has been known to have a live DJ in it, which is just brilliant.
Best chippy ever. They do the deep fried Mars bars. That's where I first tasted a deep fried toffee crisp, which is amazing as well.
Right.
And also one night during the festival, we went in to get our late night munchies because I used to live in Leith a lot. I lived in Leith for many years, the likes of McDonald Road, lived on Leith Walk, Fox Street, East Balfour Place as well. So all down that area, that was my sort of part of town. A Hearts fan living in Leith. It's one of them ones. It's like, well, it was. And I went into Picante one night, and Paul Daniels was sat there with Debbie McGee, and he was doing tricks. He was just doing tricks for the punters who were sat in Picante. So as you can imagine, it's starting to draw a crowd. There's a queue outside, and you go in, and this Paul Daniels is doing some magic tricks.
Yeah.
This will never happen again, ever. No.
I'm going to ask, was this round about 2011?
Would have been, yeah.
Because he was playing the Fringe.
Yeah.
He was playing George Square, and I was managing George Square for the festival. And I was his venue manager at the time there. And I remember they had the tech rehearsal, and I had to go around every act and say, hello, I'm your venue manager. Just if you need anything, please, let me know. And he was brilliant. He was lovely. He was so friendly. Apart from the fact I met him, he was like, hello, how are you? And this is the fabulous Debbie McGee. And here we go. I was given all my front of house staff the tour of the area. I was like, this is venue 1, this is venue 3, this is the club bar, this is all these sort of things. And then he came out, so I said, everyone wait here, I need to introduce myself. So he knew who I was. He saw the crowd of staff and he went, great to meet you. Oh, we're going to have a good season. And then went straight to the staff and started entertaining. When he saw a wee crowd, went straight to them and started entertaining them all.
Incredible. Like, there was one time, it must have been the same year then, that he was playing Fourth on the Fringe.
It would have been, yeah.
Yeah, at the Playhouse. And again, another amazing theatre. Some brilliant shows I've seen in there. So when Fourth on the Fringe happens, essentially it's a whole load of acts who do 10 minutes of the show and then say, like, you can find me here and, my tickets are this. So Paul Daniels, I was his runner, and I was also that night for Neil and Christine Hamilton. So they arrived at the stage door and I had to look after them. And I took Paul Daniels to the wrong dressing room. So we went up 3 flights of stairs, and I went into what I thought was his dressing room and opened it up, and it was empty. The 2 towers at the theatre are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Either side of them. I've taken up the wrong side. So I'd taken it to the right room, but just on the wrong side. And Debbie was like, oh, no, it's all right, Mark, don't worry about it. And I was like, and my line to Paul Daniels, I'll never forget, I said, well, you're a magician, surely you can magic your rider up here. And he just laughed, and I'm like, oh my God, he could have taken that so badly wrong.
Yeah.
Like, one of those lines, I'm like, shut up, Mark, because I'm saying it. And he went on stage, and I've never seen a performer hold an audience so masterfully than Paul Daniels that night. Incredible. Yeah. The same night, after Christine Hamilton and Neil Hamilton, Christine had a couple of glasses of wine before she went on because she was dead nervous, which I was really, really surprised about. Because she'd done like I'm a Celebrity and she's done Loose Women and all the rest of it. She was really nervous about going on the stage in Edinburgh. And the line that she used, actually myself and Laura, my partner, used, we go, get me the fuel, darling, get me the fuel, because that's what she said to me. That's all she wanted, was a red wine. She didn't want any food or anything. She's like, get me the fuel, darling. And that's so we use that line. It's a stupid story, that, but It's
I love stuff like that, though. I love stuff like that. You're right, though. The Towers, the Playhouse, because I've been backstage a couple of times. I did a video there. They let me in at Halloween to do the story of Albert, their ghost. And the Towers are huge. And once you're at one, you can't cut across. You have to go all the way down, back underneath the stage, and then back up again. It's a trek. It's a proper
right
trek.
to the left of Paul Daniels, and I've never forgotten it. And then obviously, Paul Daniels, just an incredible magician. Magic Fest is another thing. If you're in Edinburgh, Magic Fest's on. Kevin McMahon runs it. He was obviously on Britain's Got Talent as Kevin Quantum last year. Magic Fest is another thing you need to check out. It's something that's grown every year. It's just incredible. Edinburgh Cocktail Week, another brilliant thing to go and check out. I believe that's coming back this year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So you get a riff and you go into cocktail bars and you can, get a discount on X amount of cocktails. That's my friend Gary that runs that. So there's so many amazing things happening in Edinburgh. You just need to kind of, like that film said at Christmas, just look up and look around. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's one of my favourite movies. And if you don't stop and look around for a while,
life will just pass you by, mate. This has been absolutely brilliant, Mark. Thank you so much for spending your time. It's taken a little while for us to manage to get the time, but I'm so glad we managed to get
it. Let's in sometime. Kids TV, Gladiators, anything. Give me a shout.
Yeah, absolutely. I am absolutely up for that. Absolutely up for that. This has been a pure joy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I had a lot of fun. You had a lot of fun there. You can probably guess. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed chatting to Mark there. I think the two of us got a little bit too hung up on children's TV and Gladiators, but it was lovely to chat to him. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. It was a genuine pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you did, please remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, but keep yourself safe out there. Till next time, bye humans.